I'm Lisa Beyer. I'm the Executive Director of Cat TV, and I am here today with our puppy raisers for the Guiding Eyes for the Blind. And I'm with Sue Altman and Hercules and Tammy Buckley and Hollis. And Hollis and Hercules are brother and sister, as you probably know from our previous shows. But today we just wanted to do a little bit of an update because it's been a while since the pups have been here. So I think the last time they were here was July. Does that sound about right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how old are they now?
They're 9 months.
9 months old.
They are.
And we first met them when they were,
12 weeks, maybe?
they had just come. So how
So
old
maybe
were they?
8
I
weeks.
carried them in. They were like
Yeah, they
nine
were-
or 10 weeks.
They
Okay.
were
Yeah.
babies.
Yes, they sat on our
little
lap.
Babies.
Yeah.
And they slept. They were so cute. So now they're 9 months old. So tell us, I know this is Tammy's first time raising a puppy, and it is your 8th
Yes.
time. So Tammy, why don't you talk to us a little bit about your experience? I know, we probably talked about this in July, but how has the experience changed since then?
I don't, how has the experience changed? I think I'm getting more confident as I see her reach milestones, things that she couldn't do. Staying on a mat for more than 2 seconds. Hopefully staying in the well of the car on the passenger seat when you get out and come around. It's not perfect, but you see that progress. And I think the biggest for me, and I think I've mentioned this, is just being out in public and seeing the joy that she gives people when I am out. Today, I was at Price Chopper this morning, and an elderly gentleman walked by. He gave her this huge smile, and he said, "I wish I could have one of those."
Oh.
And then he said, "Can I pet her?" And I was like, "Yes." So it's
nice.
just, we have this long-term goal that hopefully, if she's called to be a guide dog, she will. But in the meantime, it's just a lot of joy, and it's a privilege, really. Yeah.
That's amazing. So Sue, what about you? The 8th time, how does this feel like the other times? Does it different every time?
I think it's different every time because each dog is a little bit different and they each have their own strengths and their own personalities. And so, I think one thing that this morning Tammy and I walked together, and we walked together when they were, how old were they? Maybe 4 months, and it took us like 4 hours to go a mile because we were, trying to get them to behave and be next to us and not try to maul each other. Where this morning we walked almost 4 miles and the dogs walked side by side. It was like, to me, that was, they talk about having a J in your leash, so having a loose leash, they call it loose leash walking, which is hard because they want to sniff and they want to explore, and but it was really, and we could have a conversation, because I remember Tammy saying, "We're never going to be able to have a conversation while we walk ever again." But we were. So I think to me, that was like, we were walking and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome.
Those little rewarding
Yeah,
moments.
yeah. And, we were at, my daughter is in college and she had a lacrosse play day. So we were at a lacrosse field all day on Sunday, and there was just so many dogs. And I think one of their biggest not problems, but hardest thing for a guide dog or any dog is dog distractions. And so that was really good because everybody had their dog at this play day. So it was really, neat to see Hercules being able to sit and, hold himself together while all these other dogs were walking by and kids were running by and there were lacrosse balls flying. So that was also, kind of a milestone that you work on is, the dog distractions, little animal distractions and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
So, and you just seeing him also, kind of hone down his skills, like I tell him to stay, and we kind of play this game of hide and seek in the house. So I'll have him sit and stay, and then I'll say free, and, him being able to sit and be still, and will I go do something, or, sit at the bottom, him sit at the top of the stairs, and I'll go downstairs and make sure that he is able to hold his place while we do something. So just really working on him with his self-control.
Yeah. That's
Know.
the thing. I mean, they really are just puppies. And so getting them to hone their skills and to really understand what they need to do in each situation
Right.
is such a challenge.
Right.
The training is so specific, and it really serves a purpose for
Right.
all the different things that they will be asked to do as guide dogs.
And it's not all work and no play either. So they definitely go out and play, and they play hard, and I try to also make, things fun, and they really want you use food rewards, but you also use you as a reward. So
Right.
you are really forming that bond and just giving him lots of praise and just forming this relationship with him. So, we'll go out and we'll play ball, or we'll, like I said, play hide and seek, or, another game we'll play is like hide the Kong. So he'll have to go and kind of, sit still, then you go hide a toy and, have him go find it and things like that. Or they get together and they play like crazy. And it's just so joyful to watch them they just have so much fun together playing
Yeah.
tug and running. And so
Well, when they saw each other today, they literally were just like this. They just wanted to be together. So it's so impressive that they can, calm themselves and settle down with the other one being right there. So
Yeah.
it's amazing that, that they're siblings. I think that's so cool.
Cute.
Hollis has got her foot on your foot.
Yes.
So cute.
Yes, she's
So cute. So I had the opportunity to sit for Hollis.
Thank you.
Not that long ago, and we've talked about this. It's such a important part of the raising is to have sitters that are available to give you guys the break, but also help in seeing where their progress is and how they're doing in certain areas and all of that. So I was really nervous to do it because I didn't want to mess up the training.
And I kept saying, all you have to do is love her
Yeah.
and keep her safe.
Yeah. So that helped. That helped. And having had a high needs dog, I kind of was more prepared for it than I thought I would be. But we had a great time. She just immediately was like, oh, okay, you're my person now. I have to pay attention to you, and this is what I need to do. And she just incredibly smart and focused, and really it was a great experience for me. So if there's anybody who's watching who wants to get involved with Guiding Eyes but doesn't want to do a 1.5 year long commitment of day in and day out, sitting is a really great option for people in our community to get involved. And I've been going to some of the trainings. So last week I got to work with Hercules a little bit, and it's really rewarding and interesting for me. It's interesting to learn how they're trained and why they're trained a certain way, and the different things as they progress as they get older. So that's one question I had for you, Tammy.
Yeah.
Like, have when you first got her and you could hold her in your arms versus now, the training focus, I would imagine, is a lot different now. How have you seen it progress?
So they talk about the 3 Ds, which is distraction, distance, and duration.
Okay.
So when she was a puppy, if there was a squirrel, we were a block away. Now, hopefully, if there's a squirrel, we may be on the sidewalk and that squirrel is in the grass and she's still able to continue moving. So you see that,
Yes.
and then hopefully, eventually, that won't be a distraction anymore. She will have seen her 1,000th squirrel and won't,
It won't be as interesting.
Yeah, I mean, when she was a puppy, she'd pull and bark towards the squirrel, and now
Right.
she'll look, as you know,
Right.
and birds, she still loves birds.
Yeah, we had a situation with a crow.
But she's better. So she, and it's the same with the dogs. She definitely is still barking at some dogs, pulls towards those dogs. What I do is I just create that distance by, okay, we're not going that way. You're not barking. And I am seeing that she's getting, we're able to be on the other side of the street
So it's
from
kind of
another
like
dog.
desensitizing her
Yeah,
to
and
those
then-
different-
Fourth D.
Yeah.
What's that?
The fourth D that they don't
The
talk
fourth
about.
D
Yeah.
desensitize.
Yeah. So it's, you see that progression. And I
Yeah.
think when I raised, we have a family pet, he's 7. And for me, it's a lot of work when you have a dog. And I got to the point where, okay, that's good enough.
Right.
But with her, I haven't said that because there's just this higher level that you want her to get to. Whereas when it's your pet, it's like, that's good enough for me.
Right.
But I'm not the judge of that. I don't set that bar.
Right.
So when we work every day on different things, it's not about if it's good enough for me. It's about if it's good enough for the training that they are expecting.
Right. Right.
But to go back to the sitting just for a minute, our local coordinator last night just said, we really need sitters. We need that support system. And not just for us, but also for the dogs, because they have to be adaptable. They have to be able to adapt to a new environment. They have to be able to be in a kennel. So they're really, the Guiding Eyes for the Blind, the headquarters is really, just focusing in on that a little bit more, saying these dogs need to be a little more adaptable, I guess, is I can't remember the wording from the newsletter.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
But that was the message.
Yeah, and it makes sense because they need to know what they're supposed to do no matter where they are, who they're with.
Yeah.
So their skills have to be transferable
right.
to whatever situation. And, taking them away from their raiser, who is their whole world, and putting them with a virtual stranger is such an adjustment for them, but it's such an important piece of the...
Right. And it's good to be in a different home, in a different situation. I know when we do puppy swaps also, so we have to do it every quarter, and the first few days the puppy does take a few days to figure out the new rules in the new house. This garbage is open, or the bathroom is over here, and they don't put the toilet seat down, or so it is important that the dogs know are able to adapt to different places.
And I really
You did puppy proof a little bit.
Very little, very little. But I thought that Hollis adapted remarkably well and very fast. From my experience.
And I love the report at the end. It's so helpful because Lisa was able to say, she doesn't stay in the car very well. So the next day, we spent like 20 minutes in the driveway just, you are not getting out of that.
She's great when she's driving. So just to
Yeah.
give people background.
Hollis is driving. She's good. She'll drive her person
She's
around.
great.
Just so everybody understands that the dogs either have to be in a crate in the back of the vehicle, or if that's not an option, then they are in the passenger wheel well where your feet would go, where the passenger's feet would go. So, at first that was a little strange to me, but number one, I noticed you get to keep an eye on that dog because it's right there. So you really have a sense. So I can imagine when they're a really small puppy, what a difference that makes. So she stayed right there, but as soon as I got out of the car, and she would stay, and then I would walk around the car, and as soon as I went out of her sight, she was up on the seat. Yeah. So
she's keeping an eye on you.
She was keeping an eye on me. She's like, "Where are you going?"
She's better, but not perfect. But like I said, it's just so good to have those reports and say, oh, this is something I'm going to work on, because she probably did it better for me than she did for Lisa, and I needed to know that.
Right. So the report, you give a report to me, and then I give a report at the end of the sit, and that, you know, basically like what went well, what needs to be worked on, and it's all for that goal of having them be able to do a good job being a guide dog.
Right. Like when he went to his sit, the person who had him is like, he barks in the kennel, and I'm like, really?
Oh, because he doesn't do that for
He
you.
didn't, you know, he had never barked in the kennel, and so we started, you know, working on it. So I don't know if he decided he was going to start barking then, but so we've been working on him, you know, barking, you know, in the kennel. So putting him in the kennel and going outside and kind of listening for him, letting him calm down, and then coming back in, and different strategies for him while he's in the kennel. So.
Yeah.
So that was
But
helpful.
you wouldn't have known that
Yeah.
because it hadn't been an issue yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is. I think it's really rewarding because it's a small way that you can contribute to, you know, such an amazing opportunity. So I'm sure there's other things we want to talk about, but one question I've been thinking about is, so when they go to training, you know, what is it called?
In for
IFT.
training.
IFT.
IFT, in for training, and they're evaluated. It seems like most of them at that point go through. There's some percentage that
There
doesn't.
is, yeah. I'm not sure what that percentage is that don't pass their in for training test.
Okay.
So I think it's, do I know about the in for training test, or what's your question?
Well, my question actually is, so if they're not seen as good for a guide dog, what are the other opportunities for them?
So one of our puppies had a really high distraction with small animals. And we kind of knew that, and that was my biggest concern. But when they get to training, it's amazing what these trainers do with the puppies. But they worked with him for about 8 months in harness, and we're really feeling like, you know, because you get reports as they're in training. So you'll get reports every few months, and they'll say, this is what we're working on. This is how your dog is doing. These are some of the skills that we're still working on.
Okay.
So, you know, they progress from just being around the training center, then to going into the small town that's next to it. Then they end up by actually going into Manhattan and working in the city. So in a way, they kind of can figure out how the dog is going to work in the different areas.
Okay.
So one of our dogs, because of his high distraction with little animals, the Connecticut State Police took him.
Okay.
So the Connecticut State Police will evaluate them, and then if that doesn't work out, then they can go out for adoption. So they'll always ask you as the puppy raiser if you want your dog back.
Okay. So what kind of job would it likely have with the police?
It could be a number of things. I know one of our dogs from in town went with the FBI, so he's undercover. Yeah. Keen actually lives with a police officer in Connecticut, and he the story is really special. He was actually named, with the family had lost their husband, who was a police officer, in 9/11 from complications from, you know, medical issues from 9/11, and so they actually got the dog from Guiding Eyes and gave him to the Connecticut State Police. So they trained him to sniff out electronic devices so that he works with a police officer in the Child Exploitation Division. So if there's somebody that they're investigating and they're looking for maybe a flash drive or something electronic that this person may have, you know, explicit material on, he would be able to sniff it out for them.
That's fascinating.
So we've watched him sniff out phones buried in dirt. We've watched
Wow.
him, they sent him into a garage that the police officer had already had, you know, looked at, and he found inside of a couch cushion, he had hid inside of a couch cushion in a bag, in a husky bag, in a plastic bag, and he was able to sniff it out, and they were able to, arrest this guy they were looking for. So it was really, to think he's, making a difference.
Right. So that was kind of my question, because you would think that, that kind of training would have to be so specific.
Yeah.
And
So for these guys, when they get to training, so it's less than 50%
right,
pass.
right.
So
But so the training that they're undergoing right now is specific to guiding eyes,
Yes.
right? So my guess is that creates a foundation for them to be able to be trained for other things
Absolutely.
like that.
yeah, because just think, I was actually listening to NPR yesterday, and they have police departments are bringing dogs in now, even just for. Not only for the police officers, you just think about, what happened yesterday, and the police officer that responded to, what happened in Lewiston, Maine, but, the families, or even just, assault victims, they're having this one woman, she had been a victim, and they had brought the dog into the room with her, and the dog, the police officer didn't know Spanish, and so the dog was sitting on this woman's lap, and then when she went in to testify, the dog came up. They said the dog just put his hand on her lap the whole time while she was able to, so they're just talking about, bringing them to different, places, so that would be something definitely, these
That
dogs are
any of
capable of
these-
doing,
right, any of these dogs
bringing
would be able to
comfort
do.
to.
Which I think is fascinating. So the training that you guys are doing, even if they don't become a guide dog, there are so many worthwhile
Yeah.
purposes that these dogs fulfill.
Yeah, and I think, like Sue said, it's a really solid foundation of
Right.
social exposures and house manners.
Yeah.
Yes, they do a few, like, close and a few commands that are special for guiding eyes, but
Right.
overall, it's just creating or, working with this dog that they have a really good foundation and they can hopefully do what they're best suited for.
Right.
You
Whether
know?
that's a guide dog or
Right,
something else.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they're meant to be a family dog, then that's what they're meant to be.
Right,
And I just like our
right.
last dog that he was just a great dog, and he just was a big love, and I was like, I think he just might be a family
Oh,
dog,
no. So
but
is he a family dog?
No, he's a guide
he made
dog.
it.
Oh, he did good.
did.
Yeah.
But I was in my heart thinking, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what he's meant to be. I
Right.
don't know. It was just, because he was
Oh.
just such a love, and he just loved to play and just be
But
with you.
he's that person's
He
family.
is. So he's his
Yeah.
person, and he's just, doing really cool things.
It was interesting having Hollis and kind of having to do the PR, because people are like, well, whose dog is this, and why do you have it, and what are you doing with it, and so it was interesting having to answer those questions, and but so many people are unaware of it, and especially that we have the only Vermont, training chapter here
Yeah.
in Bennington.
We're so fortunate.
Which is such a big thing, and part of what we here at Cat TV wanted to help kind of publicize, because that's huge.
It is.
Not much happens this.
And I think we've mentioned we have one family raising in Middlebury that drives
Yep.
at least twice a month for
Right.
classes.
There's Rutland,
Rutland, Middlebury.
Williamstown.
Williamstown.
Yep.
So, that's incredible that we have that resource here
Yeah.
in Bennington.
Yeah.
And it's not in Burlington.
Right, right.
Right,
I was just going to
so-
say a great way, anyone watching, our next class is November
17th? Maybe.
It's at 5:15 at Sacred Heart St. Francis de Sales, and it's just a really good way to come and observe and meet some of us that are raising. I think that's the other thing that I really enjoy is the social component of just being with all these other people that are just working with these dogs, and
Yeah.
everybody's really happy, and it's a great Tuesday night out.
It is. I've enjoyed my time,
So we'd love
yeah.
anyone to come and observe and learn more about it.
Last week I was able to work with Hercules at the training, and we were trying to get him to do a close, which is having them come and sit right here. And the hand movement that I was doing with the leash wasn't quite the same as Sue's, but as soon as I did that, he was like, "Oh, that's what you want me to do? Okay, I'll do that." And full disclosure, I'm pretty sure he and I are going steady because he was doing a lot of kissing. So, but they're really, it's an amazing organization, and I'm grateful that I got involved. So I encourage you to get involved if this interests you. It's not just about raising, it's not just about sitting, but there's fundraising that needs to happen in order to make all of these dogs be trained. So there's a lot of opportunity out there, and we can put some of those resources up on the program so that you can learn more. But is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think they do a walk and talk at 4 months and 10 months. So next month they will be doing their second walk and talk, which
And what does that mean?
It's with our instructor, and
The videotape.
we're videotaped, and that is sent to Guiding Eyes headquarters. So everybody
That's
looks.
nerve-wracking.
I know. I'm already
No,
nervous.
I told her not to be nervous. There's nothing to be nervous about because.
So they look for that J in the leash. They look for her head turn check-ins. They look to see her duration of a sit or a down or an over. And over is another one we do. Not a rollover because they're not doing tricks, but an over on their side like this so they can have their feet examined or their ears cleaned.
Yep, and
Yes.
she'll do like a little mini vet exam on
Well, we
them.
did that in training last week. Everybody went to the vet.
Yep. Because they have to be able to be handled and, get their ears cleaned and, get their paws checked. So I think one thing that everybody says is I can never give up a puppy. That's why they don't want to
Yes.
raise.
Yes, I got that a lot.
Yes.
So I think you just, I don't know. It's hard, but it's so rewarding to see, where they go and what happens to them, and it's letting go, but it's also giving something that is so invaluable to somebody who's visually impaired, to give them their freedom, to be able to walk down the road without a cane or without somebody holding their hand, and be able to go to school without being afraid they're going to fall, and the dog is keeping them safe. One of the girls she was talking about, I walked out of the coffee shop and, my dog wouldn't go the way I wanted him to, and this guy came up to me and said, the sidewalk's all torn up. You can't go that way. So,
The dog was keeping
the
them
dog,
safe.
if she had her cane, she would have walked off this, she could have walked off the sidewalk. So they just give so much to so many people. So, that's how you give them up after, a year and a half. But it is hard, but, they have a purpose.
Yeah. A lot of people, asked me, are you going to raise? And, I said, I'm good just sitting right now. I lost my dog not that long ago. And I think that this is just such a worthwhile cause. And, that question of could I do this and could I give it up? I think that, you have to go into it knowing that it's a greater purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
And how rewarding that would be. Another thing I heard was, are they really allowed to be dogs? And my answer watching this program, and being involved is yes,
Right.
they are.
Well, you took her to a fenced-in play date, right? You
Oh,
got
yeah.
to see her
Oh,
be a dog.
she played She played hard.
Plays hard.
Yeah.
So
and at night, she wants to be on you, sleeping. So sitting on the floor, and she just is happy.
on top of you.
She's on top of you,
Yeah.
and so yes, 100%. I think that they are dogs first,
Yeah.
and they're treated like they're
Right.
dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter asked me recently, Mom, have there been any days where you're just like, gee, I hope we get to keep her? And I said, I have never once had that thought, because it's always been our goal is that she's going to help somebody else if that's what she's called to. So I've never wished, as much as I adore her, and she sits on my lap every night, and
It's hard
she
not
goes
to love
everywhere
'em.
with me. She's in the bathroom when I shower. She's in the bathroom when I'm in the bathroom. She's everywhere with me. But I've never.
Which, by the way, she was with me as well.
Yes.
She's like, oh, you're going to the
She's
bathroom?
she's
Okay.
mastered going to the bathroom with you.
That's
But
this guy.
I've never once looked at her or even been petting her and thought, I hope I get to keep her. It's never crossed my mind, not once.
Yeah. Yeah, our goal is for them to be a guide
I
dog.
will be crying.
Yeah. Of course you will.
She's already crying.
I'm already crying. Yeah.
Got another year.
Yeah.
I told my grandson, because he was asking, my grandkids love it, he was asking, about when she leaves. I said, don't tell Grandpa, but when she goes, she's going to come back small and black.
You're going to get a different
That's
one.
a different one.
Oh,
but we'll
well,
see.
No, we
and
have
that's
done
what's-
that.
That's what
We
you've
have done that.
And somebody else their dog just went to testing, and the next week in training, they showed up with another dog, and I was like, you already got another one? They said, yeah, the same day. They picked up another dog.
We have done that, or we've had them overlap. We have.
So it really is amazing, and the more I learn about it, I really can't say enough about it, and I hope that people will take some time to learn more about it and get involved and support it, and support our local families who are doing so much good work for the greater good. And Hollis is happy now because she's got her head on Mom's foot.
On my foot.
They're
So-
so much alike, these two.
They are.
Oh my gosh.
So until next time, we'll hopefully be back in a couple months or so and see how they're doing. So thanks for joining us, and thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
to
Thank
catch
you,
up.
Lisa.
All right.
Did you know that Bennington has an amazing opportunity for people who love puppies? Guiding Eyes for the Blind pairs trained hosts to be puppy raisers and puppy sitters. Trained individuals start puppies on the path to becoming guide dogs and trains people to be puppy sitters when needed. The next training sessions are Tuesdays at 5:15 on November 14th, the 28th, and December 12th. The sessions are held at the Sacred Heart St. Francis Parish Hall at 238 Main Street in Bennington. Contact Kate Gardner, kgardner@guidingeyes.org.